So here's the headline on the back of the Irish Independent this morning. GAA to review Hawkeye use, and then hospital confirms Karius got concussion during Champions League final. The GAA reviewing the Hawkeye use story is interesting because it's somewhat contradicted in the Irish Times. You saw this game at the weekend, or I don't know if you saw the Waterford hurling match. So obviously there's a ball that goes nowhere near, it appears to anybody in the stadium, goes absolutely nowhere near being a goal, and yet the umpire sees it magically the way nobody else can see it, and the referee backs one of his umpires, not the other one, and decides, you've definitely seen it, okay, definitely goal. And the momentum was already with Tipperary at that point, but like it crushes...
Changes it, it changed,
crushes Waterford at that point, and it has the potential, given that this is probably going to be Derek McGrath's last year, to end his managerial career at Waterford. He comes out afterwards and is unbelievably calm about the whole thing and is very measured and says, look, we need to move on and we're not going to dwell on that too long. But it's not a decision that changes just the momentum of one game. It could be an entire career look back on and going, what? And that's the importance of these decisions. It's it all measures even itself out over the course of a season or year, but that's bollocks, it doesn't.
I mean, we'll be talking about the VAR that's been introduced into the World Cup for this one as well, and we've seen decisions that have been made in big tournaments that have affected them. But this one in particular, you look at it, you think, if there is any doubt, you say that one of the umpires gives it, the other's not so sure, so doesn't give it, whatever it be. So if there is an element of doubt, and that's always been the case with refereeing decisions, then you don't give it. You simply don't give it, because you almost then you go to the other side. If it should have been given, then it's all. I always personally think it would be a bigger or a lesser incident than something that's been given for clearly that hasn't been over the line. Sometimes you can think, well, he's missed it. Fair enough, that's what it would be. But the Hawkeye, particularly with the in for the points, I don't understand how it can't be the case that they can't just have introduced those to the goals anyway. Personally, I don't. And I think personally it would have to come in. It have to, certainly with that incident there at the weekend. That, as you say, it can cost careers. And it does. I've obviously been on the end of one or two myself. You look back and you think if certain decisions have been made by referees and officials, it can dictate your career, and it can almost that can be the legacy of your career in many respects as well. That's the way that it is.
And obviously it took ages for football, and it still hasn't caught up to the point where...
Well, it's still not great, is it? It still needs...
No, so Thierry Henry's handball could still happen.
Yeah.
I mean, does that go to VAR? Probably does.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that would have been VAR, definitely.
The other issue here, and I think that maybe this is being lost in this, is that, and the very defensive, so thanks to all the kind words about yesterday's photo and to all the newspapers and media for today's use, that's Sportsfile POM. It's the same picture used in all the back of yesterday's newspapers, where it's clear that the ball is not over the line. Now, I mean, he could have pulled it out.
Even watching it live, though, he didn't look it.
Didn't look anywhere near it.
No, it didn't look it watching it live. It wasn't. If you sometimes think, oh, wait for the replay on that one. You thought, has he seen the
goal that Ireland conceded last week, where Seamus Coleman was kind of clearing it from 5 yards behind the line? Yeah. Good man, Seamus, for trying, but that was nowhere near it. The other thing is that the umpires are not qualified referees. They're mates of the referee. That's how they're selected. He picks his mates to be umpires, people he trusts. And they don't have any qualifications. They don't have any. There's training for them, which apparently is relatively well attended, according to a piece in the Irish Times today. But it's not mandatory. It's not that they are qualified inter-county referees who could at some point step in if the referee needed replacement, or that they're even qualified to run the line. They're not. They're just picked by the referee because they're people he trusts.
Oh,
that's it.
Right.
That is the level of qualification they have for deciding people's careers.
Yeah.
And so I think that's been a little bit lost in the whole, will we have VAR? Because it's like it'll be 5 years before we get proper VAR system for every ground. And maybe they'll only have it in Croker and they won't have it in the Gaelic grounds. But in the meantime, get better umpires.
Yeah.
But they're not for turning on that either. It's like, no, the system works very well.
It's an easy thing to say, look, how often does this sort of incident rear its head? But as you say, they rear their head in career-defining moments. That's the big thing, If Waterford go now in the next couple of weeks, whatever it will be, then this is defining their season. Because of how well they played, particularly after last week, and they've come back this week and played really well. They've got a few injuries, a few of the lads that were injured back, And as you said, these are big moments in people's careers. It's not just one game, and we can talk about it here on a Monday morning. This is exactly what you're saying there. Defining, so defining.
That is the point that you're making as well. One mistake, however bad, doesn't mean though that the system is broken. And then they're pointing out that, like, this is in the Irish Times today, from somebody from the GAA who doesn't identify themselves, which is unfortunate really, because it's much better if everybody just comes out and goes, yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of the GAA and this is my general thoughts. Now, it's a source within Croke Park saying this, and I don't really understand why they feel the need to hide behind anonymity, when actually what everybody needs is just to have an honest conversation. Look, lads, this is what we think. We think that it's grand because this is only the second incident in 10 years. And then we can at least know whose view the point this is. But they don't. And look, it's a small point, but why not just come out and say who you are? Anyway, we have Hawkeye in Croke Park and Semple Stadium, but we've used it less than once per game, which puts the original problem into some sort of context. Fair enough. But you have it, use it. Yeah. And when you do use it, everybody in the crowd goes, well, that's fine. We know exactly what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
They have it in Cork as well now, don't they? They're not using Cork a couple of weeks ago.
Anyway, it was in place. I saw it in one of the games recently, yeah.
I thought it was as well. So, and I did think at the Gaelic grounds, whatever it was, maybe where the camera angle was a bit weird, the other end that this incident happened in, there was a couple of points over the course of the weekend. I was like, that wasn't a point, and it was given. Or one would be like, well wide, and like, that's exactly the same as the one that they just gave a couple of minutes ago. So there's no need for it. The organisation is plenty rich, can totally afford to have Hawkeye in a bunch of grounds, particularly where there's going to be big hurling matches played. The small ball is much harder to see than football, obviously. And improve the standard of the umpiring.
But
make them be referees.
It's particularly, again, with what's happening, career defining, so we know that, yeah.
Yeah, even if you were like promoting Division 3 and Division 4 referees from the hurling championship, this is their way to experience the big games, but the system isn't broken. You could argue that none of the footage or photographs show that the ball definitely wasn't over the line, but I don't think that's a conclusive argument. Like, come on, it's not even...
No, I know. Well, that's not an argument, is it? That isn't. You know, we from again naked eye or watching it on TV. Again, you're not going to get a true picture until you see that replay. But it didn't look it straight away. It didn't look it.
No.
When you see that replay and it's like and Waterford hard done by, most definitely there.
Yeah, and so who knows what the hell's going to happen to them. You really hope that they do actually manage to make it out of the group stages now. I mean, that means two brilliant teams are actually, because Waterford played really well, it means two brilliant teams are actually going to be out of the championship in just a couple of weeks' time. Let's move on to Times of Ireland. Their back page lead is a rugby story. We didn't show Ireland much respect. That's Will Genia talking about 2011, one of the survivors from 2011. Rethink over safe standing at grounds. I think that's the Times UK. No, it's the Times of Ireland edition, sorry, yeah, obviously. And then the other one there was a picture of Tony Cascarino, and we sent him our very best wishes this morning because he's writing today about the fact that he has a benign brain tumour, but it is the size of a golf ball, and he's had it for 18 months, and it's pretty worrying.
Yeah, well, I think that the message from Tony basically across the piece, read it there this morning, was it's the old, I don't know, so many men do it. We'll leave it, it's grand. I won't bother with it. He started to get a hissing in his ear, started to feel or taste metal in one side of his mouth when he was chewing. You can't overlook these things. It just hits home more than ever now as well. And Tony, who I know Tony very well, and you know, it's first I'd heard about it this morning when I've read the piece. So certainly our thoughts are with him. But luckily it's benign. But he does need to take a bit of time out now. He needs to have surgery. He needs to get it sorted, and hopefully he'll come back fully recovered from it.
Yeah, he's waiting until after the World Cup as well. That's like I'd be getting that done pretty straight away. Yeah. I'm going to go to the World Cup, and
well, he's thinking I've waited 18 months, but. I mean, you can't overlook this. Is so serious. Yeah. And he's waited so long before he gets it checked. He goes for the MRI scan, gets it sorted. So, I said, like, he's waiting until after the World Cup, but hopefully he will be fine. Yeah.
He said that he ended up falling down the stairs and eventually went to the doctor and blurted out to the doctor the list of symptoms that he had, and it was like, it's quite a long list of symptoms. Maybe I should have put all this together. Ultimately, to the point where he was forgetting words.
Hearing loss as well. His wife kept saying to him, or his partner kept on saying to him, "Tony, you're going deaf. Everything all right?" Yeah. Just he was involved in conversations with people, and if it was a night out, went out for a quiet beer and things like this, and he wasn't able to hear people. So yeah, it's telling for us all, I suppose, as well. any sort of sign like that, yeah.
Tommy Conlon has a story there as well. Time to take GAA umpires out of the line of fire. I haven't actually read that piece yet, but I've no doubt that it is about trying to upgrade the quality of the umpires that we have at the moment. On to the Irish Times, and their main story is the Jim McGuinness column today, which is obviously pretty interesting for Jim because he knows Rory Gallagher all too well. They were, of course, a dream team partnership at one point in Donegal before they went their separate ways, and then obviously Rory got the Donegal job after Jim, and Jim used his column week after week to tell Rory how he should be doing stuff. So this time it's like, go all the way here, here and here, and then it's eventually you have to give great credit to Rory Gallagher and Fermanagh, full stop. Credit for Rory Gallagher. Eventually, I mean, most people don't really make the last few paragraphs in these pieces because they're quite long, you know. But eventually, Jim McGuinness gives Rory Gallagher a qualified blessing. They stuck with the game plan and got a wee bit of luck with the goal that got them over the line. But they created all the key moments in that game. Got a wee bit of luck. And then there was another one. They attacked through the middle a lot in the second half, and that pulled Monaghan men in, and more by luck than design. You're like...
well, you could see the
Lord giveth with one hand and the Lord taketh away with the other.
You've got to credit him, haven't you? You know, how you know, certainly didn't expect it, and I watched the game. It certainly wasn't a great game by any stretch of the imagination to watch, but what a performance, what a game plan. They got the result, and that is it. Ultimately what counted, you know. I certainly didn't expect the goal to come the way that it did anyway later on. You're thinking Monaghan, that's it, it's done in the latter stages. They get through the game, they grind it out, but credit for Manor just to come back the way they did later on. It was amazing. It was a brilliant
well taken goal as well, when you kind of think that long lofted hoofed ball into the full forward line and a midfielder running into jump. Thanks very much out of nowhere. It almost never happens these days because defences are so well structured and everybody's like stopping that ball happening. So the big debate is about the quality of the football, and you know nobody wants to watch this anymore, and it's dead. But like if you're Fermanagh or if you're Carlo, you're having one of the seasons of all time because you're winning games and you're getting through. Like, and your team is playing a style of football that makes you competitive in matches.
That's the way it has to be, doesn't it? Well, it has to be. It's different styles, and you only relate it to my own career, but playing football, different styles, and I would never dismiss someone who's going to play defensive tactics, trying to get the results. You work with the players you've got, and you work with those players to get the necessary results, and that's what it is all about. That essentially, that's the way it is, and you've got to admire people when they're actually using certain tactics or different tactics, because it does make it interesting. It doesn't make it great watch. It doesn't make it a great spectacle at times. I think we'll all accept that, but it certainly makes it interesting going into certain games.
We ever on teams that didn't accept that they were inferior but tried to play football that was at like a too high a level? Do you know what I mean? Like an open game as opposed to, okay, this team are slightly better than us, they've got more talented players, let's just dig in, let's be intelligent.
I probably would say that we knew our limitations wherever I was, but I mean I definitely can relate to Fermanagh in many respects there. So I would have played in sides where you're going to Old Trafford, you're going to Arsenal, and you're playing against really good sides.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. Tell you what, we're going to go toe to toe to them, and you're getting played around.
You take Ronaldo, I'll take Tevez. Sure, we'll be grand.
Yeah. Exactly, but that's exactly what it was. I remember I played in a game at Old Trafford once, and it was at Sunderland, and we had a game plan where it was trying to be a bit more man for man. So I was actually playing the left-hand side of midfield, and basically what it was the two fullbacks. Our two fullbacks had to push in with Man United's two wide men. I think it probably was Beckham at the time. I think it would have been Beckham and Giggs, perhaps. I'm guessing there a little bit to an extent, but. Basically, it was to try to squeeze in. It was just because that was where United seemed to get the overloads on you with the two wide men coming in. So it was squeezing, go man for man. My job then as a left-hand side, or the right-hand side, I was playing the left-hand side, was to stay with the full-back. Within about 5 minutes of the game, Phil Neville had run off my shoulder because you're so used to playing a certain way. Pass him on to the fullback. He got a yard on me. Phil Neville goes through. Phil Neville probably scored 2 goals in his whole career. One of them was a mistake by me that actually gifted him a goal. So your game plan's gone then, isn't it? You know, and that's what can happen. That's the way that it is. So it's. So
you ruined weeks and weeks of prepreparation. It's like
it was a full week's preparation.
Oh, that's what you meant. Follow him on. Good lad.
I was on my knees. I was just like, oh God, and that was it. Knowing full well what was about to be said to me at half time, even though I had 40 minutes or so to go till half time. Peter Reid in my ear, whoever it was, Peter Reid at the time. Bobby Saxton was his assistant as well. So anyway, there you go.
Notoriously polite gentleman as well.
Yeah,
Peter Reid.
Yeah.
They'd be looking out for your mental health.
Yeah, anyone who saw that documentary on those two will know exactly what Sacco and Peter Reid are about, yeah.
The Irish Examiner this morning have Kerry Gold, a look at the best golf courses in the kingdom, and then they obviously have Simon Lewis down under as well. He's making the point that the Wallabies won't underestimate Ireland like 2011, and then referees chief backs calls for VAR, which I guess is the point that VAR is definitely going to help, but improving the quality of the umpires, we may as well do these two things when you get the chance at the same time. So the Irish news: Tyrone injury crisis before Meath, Sludden in line for debut as Tyrone bolster squad. I don't know, suddenly the Meath people in the office are feeling a bit cocky and confident ahead of this.
Yeah, you've been
Tommy was like,
yeah,
Jesus lads, this Tyrone team,
we've got a chance. We've got a chance. Yeah, I think that's what it is, isn't it? You know, you drop 3 or 4 players. We even saw it with Waterford the last couple of weeks when they've been playing. You get 3, 4, 5 injuries, and all of a sudden it makes a massive difference because you're taking top class players out the side. And I think Tommy will be looking forward to this one now, won't he?
Yeah, I don't know. I still think that Tyrone are going to kick 116, 117.
You would think they
Meath kick 116 or 117?
You think they'd be strong, wouldn't you? Think they'd be too strong. Yeah,
3-9. Tommy reckons they can score.
Is it? Logic suggests that Tyrone will win, but we'll see.
Yeah, and then the Racing Post, their lead story is the jockey Andrew Thornton has decided to retire. Something about a wake-up call at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was like, "Oh, why am I still doing this?"
Yeah,
had enough of this. He's had 1,000 winners. I don't know Andrew Thornton very well, but 1,000 winners in his career.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Good Cheltenham record as well. Yeah.
So you can see that for a lot of sports people, at some point the alarm goes off and you're like, no, I'm hitting snooze and rolling over.
I know, it is. That is the thing. And when you watch the documentary, when you get the little insight into Tony McCoy when he was when I was coming the last year of his riding career, and you're thinking the lengths that they go to. But he actually would have carried on. It was almost like people around him telling him, "Come on, you've got to back away from this." He's like, he's killing you, but. What they do, the jockeys, they're just phenomenal athletes, phenomenal sportsmen, really, and women. Yeah.
What have you got first?
I've got the Herald here. Sky Blue Exodus. 4 of the players opting out of the panel. There's still word on Dermot Conley, but 4 have confirmed. Kieran Redding, Shane Carthy, Eamon
O'Conneilla.
Yeah, O'Conneilla. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for that, Joe. And Shane Carthy as well. Yeah. So 4 lads confirmed to be opting out of the panel this year for Dublin. So I think in general, you know, they're going to America, as well, this summer. So it's... I
mean, it doesn't matter in terms of the starting 15 or maybe even the first group off the bench, but the thing that we've heard about Dublin over the years is that their training sessions are savage, that the lads who are close are putting the pressure on the first team. If you take out the second tier of midfielders, then suddenly the first choice midfielders are like, well, who are you going to pick?
Yeah.
Picking me. You need me. So
that is, you can imagine how well you know how competitive it is with the Dublin panel. They're unbelievably strong. Yes, but again, go back to the fact is, you know, where we talk about the amount of training. We just talked about Andrew Thornton. You know, the amount of training that these lads are doing without getting the rewards, without getting game time. What are you going to do in the summer? Are you going to have, you know, maybe a chance to earn a few quid?
Exactly, and have the summer of your life in the States. Those J1 summers are where you grow up a good bit. But this year there's a good chance everybody will get game time because of the Super 8s.
Yeah.
There's a good chance that the Dubs win their first 2 Super 8s, and then so that last game is a bit of a dead rubber.
But then what do you do? We've seen this before with so many. What do you do? Are you going to just strip the team back and say, I'll tell you what, we're going to make 8-10 changes? It's not necessarily easy to do that to get back up to speed again. That's personally how I would feel.
Maybe that's a fair point, and it will be like 3 weeks before an All-Ireland semi-final. But like if you don't feel you're getting game time except in a dead rubber, then fair enough. You may as well head off and have a summer.
Yeah. Also, John O'Shea as well. John O'Shea continues his career at Reading. That's also in the Herald. John O'Shea, of course, retiring this weekend from international football. Quite surprising. I'd heard it the back end of last week that he was in at Reading.
Yeah.
Finished his career now at Sunderland. So I would presume, or Paul Clement as well, who's just taken over towards the back end of the season there. Obviously going to rely on John's experience, but I just think that maybe he could be with an eye on a coaching position there at Reading as well. I think that's got to be something that's in John O'Shea's mind. He's spoken openly about it in the last week or so.
It's not close to Sunderland, is it? Reading?
No. It's
not like so they're moving.
Heathrow. Yeah, no, it's the other end of the...
so you got to up sticks and move the whole family and...
Yeah, it's a big one for him, particularly young family. He said he's got one on the way as well. So it's a big move for John, that one is, but that's the way that it is. If you're going to... He could have guaranteed. Again, I don't know. He may just want to just solely be focused on playing for the course of this season or next season. But I think that's got to be with a mindset on his further career and where he's going to be going to in his coaching career. I think that's probably the way that it is.
Alongside Paul McShane at Reading as well?
Paul McShane, yeah. I was talking to Paul, played in golf, Paul's McShane's golf day. Paul and John, his brother. He's the memory of his dad yesterday down at Druids Glen, so I was playing that yesterday, so it was quite a good day actually, yeah.
Paul McShane playing for Ireland again sometime soon? He refused to retire here on Friday morning.
Oh, yeah. He's still young enough, and he's seeing players that's coming in from League One, and the level that he was performing at Reading over the last couple of years. He deserves to be involved. He was involved in the Denmark game. Don't forget, that's the thing that we maybe overlook at times as well. So he's still around it, yeah. So there you go. Good stuff. Next one in the mirror as well. This is the one that stood out for me over the weekend as well. Pep has a problem. Pep Guardiola, Yaya Touré speaking out this weekend, is a problem with African players. I mean, this is a big one, I think, really, as well. You mean, because this is a big criticism of Pep Guardiola here. This is a massive one. He's saying to him, he was cruel to me. He asked him if I was fit, and I asked myself if it was because of my colour. I mean, you're banding that out about someone. You're throwing that out about someone. This is a big one. Now, I think Yaya Touré is involved in the Soccer Aid game next weekend at Old Trafford. Is he been asked to do a series of interviews around it? Obviously getting asked about Pep Guardiola and what happened and why he hasn't played enough over the last couple of seasons. But that's almost like he's throwing one out there. Now, I mean, there's reference as well within the piece as well on how he treated Samuel Eto'o, how he treated Naby Keita as well at Barcelona. You know, so he said this was a big talking point around the Barcelona dressing room. So I don't know where Pep Guardiola is going to have to come out quite quickly, I think, to try to distance himself from this and try to put it right, because that's not great. It's not great at all, Ger.
There's no dressing it up. It's a serious accusation of racism.
Massive.
And none of the papers are actually kind of using that word because they don't want to, but that's what he is accusing him of. He's accusing him of making decisions based on the colour of his skin and the fact that he's from Africa. So, there is no two ways around that. It's an unbelievably serious accusation from Yaya.
They've talked about being cruel. Again, wondering whether it was because of the colour of my skin.
Yaya's pissed off that he didn't get the send-off from Manchester City that he felt someone like Buffon or Iniesta got from Juventus and Barcelona respectively, but he wasn't good enough to be in the team over the last year, and so it's harder to, you can't just kind of have this testimonial end to the season when it's a player who is actually a bit part player who's kind of being happily left.
Yeah, I agree with that. Personally, watching Pep Guardiola in the last season under Pellegrini, he wasn't good enough. He wasn't good. He wasn't at the level that he'd been prior to that. So Guardiola's recognised that. He's seen him. He didn't necessarily fit into the way that he played. But then to throw that about, 2 years down the line after not getting that game time, that's a biggie. That is a biggie. Yeah. Yeah. Also as well in the start against lead off again, Pep was cruel. Marco Silva in at Everton. That's the one here now that obviously just announced over the weekend. He said he won't stand in Wayne Rooney's way if he were to leave the club.
No,
clearly that's on you go, Wayne. Yeah, you're on $5 million a year. This is going to give me more of a budget, or maybe two players, I suppose.
Here's the keys to the car. Off you go.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an interesting one, I think, with Wayne. Probably Wayne, if he maybe thinks about now, he maybe should have gone last summer. When he came in, it was a big thing going back into Everton. I understand it maybe, and because he's in there now, personally, I would like him to stay and maybe try and develop maybe within the academy. But if he wants to carry on playing, probably he knows his legs are not up to the speed of the Premier League, and we've probably seen that over the last few years, haven't we? That's kind of thing with Wayne.
It was pretty clear. It was a bad signing. It didn't make any sense. But I don't know, apparently they're not paying that much of the wages. They're paying a portion of the wages, and it's Man United paying a portion of the wages. And if he goes to Washington, it was going to be a bit by Washington, a bit by Everton, a bit by by Man United still. So nobody really wants to pay Wayne Rooney to wander around the place.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is effectively what he's doing.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's just it's get it sorted, I suppose, as well. Wayne and Wayne Rooney's and Sam Allardyce's relationship didn't seem to be clicking at all. Certainly in the last few months of the season, Wayne Rooney's probably not happy. He's not been playing, but the performances suggest that it's probably been right. So I think that's a good move for him. Personally, I think that's a good move for him to finish off his career as well. Also, as well, Joe Brolly in the Star as well, talking about Jim Gavin. Jim Gavin has crushed Dermot Connolly confidence-wise last season. That's why he sees him walking away again and
not playing while Jim is still the manager.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the one there as well. In the Sun as well, VAR for the course. That's the one again that we're seeing there. But where's the other one? Sorry, there from that one. What's he saying there? Tommy's saying something to me here. They're trying to get something. I can't even hear him as well. And again, Yaya Touré as well. That was the one. And the Leroy Sané. That was the one. Sorry, the Leroy Sané one. The suggestion, Leroy Sané's omission from the Germany squad. Now, again, something we get into, I suppose, on it. But the suggestion is ego from Leroy Sané. He doesn't fit tactically into the squad. Germany now play a 3-5-2, doesn't necessarily fit tactically in the squad, but more so, he doesn't fit within the squad for off the field. Basically, he has too big an ego. That is the suggestion from Joachim Löw, the Germany manager.
We'll get into
quite interesting, given how good he was as well.
We'll get into a few more details on that in just a couple of minutes' time. But there is some breaking news this morning that there's been a serious incident at Bray Boxing Club where 3 men are alleged to have been shot. 3 men are believed to have been seriously injured and shot at the Bray Boxing Club in the Harbour in Bray, County Wicklow. The incident happened at around 6:55 a.m. this morning. The suspect left the scene in a white or silver van, possibly a Ford make, and bearing British number plates. Gardaí are appealing for witnesses to contact Bray Garda Station, and there's the number 01666 5300. Of course, Bray Boxing Club in County Wicklow was made world famous by the success that Katie Taylor had from her time as an amateur boxing from Bray Boxing Club. So we'll follow this story. Obviously, Katie Taylor hasn't been boxing there for a number of years now since she turned pro, but that is the statement this morning from the Gardaí about the shooting at Bray Boxing Club, and the 3 men are believed to be seriously injured. So we'll obviously try and come back to that a little bit later on with some more details, and obviously you'll get more details across all of our social media channels as that story develops.